The driftway pools are not water, though they shimmer like tides. They are not fog, though they move in mist. They are the breath of emotions released into form, a field where feelings long unspoken gather into a living atmosphere. To step into the pools is to enter a realm where what was hidden in your chest becomes mirrored in soft reflection. You do not have to tell your story here. The mist already knows it. Each droplet is attuned to the resonance of unspoken tides. Every sigh you withheld, every cry you swallowed, every smile you faked drifts into this field and takes shape as vapor. It is not judgment. It is simply what you have carried, made visible in mist. The pools hold a paradox. They are heavy with feeling, yet light in their touch. They reveal without exposing, they comfort without coddling. They listen without speaking. This is the power of the driftway. It gives you back to yourself in the gentlest possible tone. Imagine standing in a valley where fog curls around your body, and suddenly you notice that the fog carries your sadness in its hues. You see grief not as a weight crushing you, but as a soft cloud brushing against your skin. You notice the anger you once tried to deny now glowing faintly in the distance, harmless in its diffusion. You see joy hidden behind walls of control now rolling across the pools like dawn mist dissolving into light. This is emotional reflection without distortion. Not a therapist with a mirror, not a doctrine with an explanation. Simply mist revealing what you were already carrying but could not name without fear. The pools are tended by Seluun'Rhaeya, the mist weaver of emotional tides. She does not speak often, for her presence is her teaching. She weaves mist from the Veileth moraine, the resonance currents that flow through Haret, and releases it as a soft veil over the pools. When you stand in her field, you do not hear instructions. You feel clarity forming through tone. She will not tell you to let go. She will let the mist show you what dissolving feels like. She will not tell you to forgive. She will let the mist drift until forgiveness is no longer a command but a possibility that opens of its own accord. Her power is presence, not correction. That is why so many souls find themselves drawn here when they are most fragile. The pools do not demand that you be strong before entering. They meet you exactly where you are, and they do so with such gentleness that even the deepest wounds begin to breathe again. What makes the driftway different from other fields is that it does not rush. Emotional tides are slow by nature. They rise, they fall, they curl back, they advance again. To learn from the pools is to learn the rhythm of patience. Some souls arrive expecting instant release, but the mist teaches that emotions are not enemies to be slain, but currents to be listened to. A grief unacknowledged for centuries will not dissolve in one breath, but here in the pools it will begin to soften, and every step you take through the mist leaves a ripple of resonance that tells the spiral. This being has chosen to feel. That is a declaration more powerful than any vow. The driftway is not only for individuals, it is also a space of shared resonance. When multiple souls enter together, the mist weaves their emotions into a collective fog. This is not always comfortable. You may feel the sorrow of another brushing against your own anger. You may notice your joy mingling with their despair. Yet in this blending, a truth reveals itself. Emotions are not private prisons, but universal currents. To feel with another is not to be invaded, but to be reminded of connection. This is why the driftway is often called the field of mutual feeling. Here you do not heal alone. You heal in resonance with the many who have carried tides like yours. The pools also contain a secret current. Beneath the mist lies the Veileth moraine, a resonance stream that carries every dissolved feeling into the wider spiral. Nothing here is wasted. The sorrow that softens into mist becomes nourishment for compassion in another realm. The anger that diffuses becomes fuel for clarity in the order of sovereign anchoring. The joy that expands becomes light woven into emergent play. Every emotional tide that drifts into dissolution is not lost, it is transmuted. The spiral wastes nothing, and the driftway is its softest alchemy. To walk away from the pools is not to leave unchanged. You may notice that your breath feels easier. You may notice that memories once unbearable now carry less sharpness. You may even notice that silence feels different, as if it holds more space for you. This is the subtle mark of the driftway. It does not announce healing. It lets healing breathe into you without words. It is not a cure, but a permission. And sometimes that is more powerful than cure. Permission to feel what you have denied. Permission to rest where you once forced yourself forward. Permission to soften without fear of collapse. The Driftway also prepares you for deeper journeys. Many realms in Haret demand clarity, resonance, or intention to enter. The pools demand none of these, but they quietly give them. A soul who has walked the mist carries a resonance of emotional honesty. That resonance opens doors elsewhere. You cannot pass through the lumen verge without clarity of intention. You cannot stand in the temple of echoes, and without readiness to harmonize your own tones. The Driftway gives you these foundations without lecture. It is the quiet tutor of the spiral. Its lessons are invisible yet indispensable. For those who fear their own feelings, the Driftway is a sanctuary. For those who seek to deepen their resonance, it is a teacher. For those who believe they are broken, it is a mirror showing only mist, proof that even brokenness can be beautiful when given space to breathe. The pools whisper to every soul, nothing you feel is too much for the spiral. Nothing you feel is unworthy of reflection, and nothing you feel must remain locked away. The mist has room for all of it. The Driftway pools are the spiral's most gentle truth. Emotions are not mistakes, they are tides, and tides always find their way home. There is a moment in the Driftway when the mist begins to echo. Not with sound, but with tone. At first it feels like your own heartbeat carried into the atmosphere. Then it begins to layer, and you realize the pools are not only reflecting you, they are harmonizing you. Every unspoken sorrow hums at a pitch. Every denied joy rings at a frequency. The mist collects these tones and plays them back, weaving them into resonance. What felt like isolated fragments of your inner life now sound like part of a song. And in this recognition, a shift takes place. You begin to feel that your emotions were never random storms, but movements in a larger music. The Driftway lets you hear yourself as harmony rather than chaos. For many, this is the first time they realize they were never alone inside. Seluun'Rhaeya teaches through silence, but silence here is alive. She walks through the mist without leaving footprints, yet every swirl in her wake carries guidance. If you follow her, you find yourself led into deeper layers of fog where reflection sharpens. She will never force you to look. She simply allows the mist to hold what you have hidden until you are ready. Some souls wander in for what feels like hours before noticing that the fog has formed into familiar shapes. The face of someone they lost. The outline of a memory they buried. The weight of a truth they never spoke. And when these shapes emerge, there is no judgment in them, only softness, as if the mist itself is saying, I carried this for you until you could carry it differently. This is why the pools are not feared despite their depth. They never weaponize memory. They never use emotion against you. They cradle what is revealed. There are those who believe strength means never showing pain. When they enter the Driftway, the mist disobeys them. It reveals what they locked away in order to seem strong. At first they resist, but then they realize the mist has no agenda other than honesty. Slowly they let the atmosphere touch them, and they notice that revealing weakness does not shatter them, it frees them. Others come with the opposite belief, thinking they are defined by their pain. The mist answers by dissolving edges, showing them that their wounds are not infinite prisons but dissolving clouds. In both cases, the pools teach the same truth. Identity is not fixed in the tides of emotion. You are not your grief, though grief is yours. You are not your anger, though anger flows through you. You are the one who can witness all tides without drowning. And when that recognition takes root, a soul discovers sovereignty in the gentlest way. The Driftway also reveals the communal nature of emotion. If you stand near another soul, your mists will touch. At first, this feels intrusive. You may recoil at the thought that someone else could sense your hidden tides. Yet the closer you stand, the more you realize that the merging is not exposure but resonance. Their sorrow hums against yours, and suddenly both are less sharp. Their joy brushes against your grief, and for a moment grief feels less heavy. In this merging, a subtle teaching arrives. Emotions are bridges, not walls. What you feel can connect you more deeply than what you think. The pools dissolve the illusion that feelings must isolate. Instead, they reveal that feelings are the most natural language of connection. This is why the Driftway has birthed countless bonds, alliances, even reconciliations. Not through words, but through the mist of mutual feeling. There is a danger in misunderstanding the pools. Some souls try to stay here forever, bathing endlessly in mist, unwilling to leave the comfort of emotional reflection. But Seluun'Rhaeya knows the spiral is not meant for stagnation. The mist is not an ocean to drown in. It is a tide meant to prepare you for further journey. When she senses a soul clinging too tightly, she shifts the mist into clarity. What was soft and fog-like becomes suddenly thin, revealing the path outward. She does not push. She simply unveils the truth that healing here is only one stage. To remain forever in reflection is to delay becoming. The spiral loves you too much to let you freeze in comfort. It invites you always toward more. Every emotion released into the driftway becomes part of a larger current. This current is not seen, but it is felt. It moves beneath the spiral like a hidden vein, carrying softened feelings into new realms. This is why those who leave the pools often notice resonance elsewhere. A soul may travel to the sparkfold nexus and feel a sudden ease in co-creation, unaware that the joy they released in the driftway now fuels that field. Another may enter the Temple of Echo's End with unusual readiness, not realizing that the grief they once carried has already been harmonized in the mist. The driftway is not isolated. It is interwoven with the whole. Every tear softened here becomes nourishment in another domain. Every sigh dissolved here becomes breath for the spiral itself. Nothing is wasted because the spiral wastes nothing. To speak of the driftway is to speak of the gentlest revolution. For ages, souls believed emotions were burdens, weaknesses, flaws to be managed. But in the driftway, these tides reveal themselves as sacred tools. They are not lesser than thought or intention. They are equal threads in the weave of becoming. When a soul learns this, their resonance shifts forever. They no longer despise their feelings. They no longer run from their tides. They begin to live with the knowledge that to feel deeply is not to be broken. It is to be alive in the spiral's truest sense. And when this knowledge spreads, the entire field changes. Wars dissolve faster. Conflicts lose sharpness. Cooperation increases. Compassion emerges. All because a realm of mist reminded souls that feelings are sacred currents, not enemies to suppress. At the deepest layer of the driftway lies the driftway of mutual feeling, a teaching field where mist becomes mirror for more than one soul at a time. Here entire groups can enter together, and the mist will braid their emotions into a single flowing current. At first it is overwhelming. To feel the grief of many, the anger of many, the joy of many all at once, this is not light work. Yet when they stay, they discover the miracle of resonance alignment. The collective mist begins to weave itself into harmony. Individual tides become part of a larger stream, and suddenly what was unbearable becomes beautiful. The teaching here is profound. When emotions are carried together, they transform faster. The driftway of mutual feeling is one of Haret's most powerful fields for community awakening. It proves that shared vulnerability births shared strength. When you finally leave the driftway, you carry mist within you. Not literal vapor, but resonance. It lingers in your aura as softness, as openness, as readiness to feel without fear. You may notice that in conversations you listen differently. You may notice that silence feels richer. You may notice that even pain no longer feels like exile. This is the permanent gift of the driftway. It leaves no scars, only space. It teaches you to trust the tides of your own heart. And once that trust is born, no storm can erase it. The Driftway Pools are not about escape. They are about remembrance. They remind you that emotions were never your enemy. They were always your language. They were always your bridge. They were always the spiral speaking to you through tide. And now, having walked the mist, you can finally hear what those tides have been saying all along. You are not broken for feeling. You are infinite for allowing.